Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Chinese Ghost Story 3, a Hong Kong fantasy genre bender from 1991 that was directed by Ching Siu-tung. Now one could classify this as an action horror romance hybrid. You know the drill by now, alright, for this franchise. So we have two Buddhist monks, Master Bai Yun and his inept disciple Shi Fang. They're transporting a golden idol of Buddha. During their travels, they meet the relatively honorable mercenary Taoist Yin, and they're confronted by thieves and bandits in the surrounding villages. So these monks spend the night at a local temple, which is none other than the Orchid Temple from the first film of the franchise. The tree demon knows of these residing monks and tells the female ghost, Lotus, to go and seduce Shi Fang. Alright, so the film starts with like a flashback to the first film, with Taoist Yin sealing away the tree demon, but tells scholar Ning Sai Shen that it will reawaken in 100 years. And then we fast forward to 100 years later, and we meet our new protagonist. So Tony Leung's novice monk replaces Leslie Chung's tax collector as the male lead in this third installment. Now, the plot is basically a rehash of the original film, with the tree spirit as the main antagonist, but it's still weirder than 90% of films out there. Alright, let's be honest. Now, Tony's character is pretty klutzy, and this is established as early as the opening credits, folks. But he does experience some growth and needs to man up, so to speak, as the conflict escalates throughout the remainder of the film. So Joey Wong returns to what I would consider a career-defining role of the cursed ghost here, but her personality in this third installment is spunkier and represents one of the most likable characters she's ever played, in my opinion. Now, she's introduced early on in like a sensual tattooing scene. Also incorporates some opium smoking, I think. Kind of edgy, I guess. But she likes to mess with Tony Leung's character a lot in this. And that's where a lot of the entertainment value comes from in this film. Like, there's a scene where she pretends to be bitten by a snake, and it's quite amusing from start to finish. And her facial expressions throughout the film are very charming. You could tell at this point, with the third installment of this franchise, Joey Wong is very comfortable with the role at this point, and it kind of shows. I actually think that her performance in this is the best of the trilogy. Very nice chemistry between her and Tony Leung. The romantic element kind of strengthens as the film moves along. And then, of course, we have Jackie Chung. Shows up as like a swordsman who decapitates a lot of bandits early on. He's not quite as funny as he was in part 2 of this franchise, but he adds some entertainment value, of course. We get some creepy atmosphere, especially at night with the wind, the fog effects, and the blue lighting. I really like these Chinese fantasy films of this era. They have that aesthetic to them. Now, in terms of set pieces, there are lots of shenanigans, as you might expect. There's a fun demon attack against some bandits. Utilizes tongue, fingernail, and hair attacks. And if you've seen the film, you know what I mean. There's a fun seduction fight between Tony Leung and Joey Wong when they first meet. Uses some crazy hair attacks and lots of body throwing. Near the midpoint of the film, there's a flying carpet scene. Seriously. And that transitions to a fight against the demon, which incorporates some water attacks. And then there's a big finale to this film. Another flying carpet scene with, like, if you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. Like, big pillars, like, emerge from underground, and they just keep flying up to kind of block our protagonists from escaping. Pretty cool scene. But I would say still, like, the action in part 3, it still feels like a little bit of a downgrade from the last 2 films of the franchise. Maybe because we've seen some of this stuff before. I can't quite pinpoint it, but yeah, it just feels like a tiny downgrade. There are a few shots that use dodgy CGI effects. Yes, there's like some scenes with like flying swords, and they look like cartoon swords. I'm not sure I really agree with that decision in this film. I think you should have gone with practical effects. If you couldn't execute it, choose something else with practical. But you could definitely see the flaws of some of the computer-generated imagery in this. But again, those scenes are few and far between. Not that big of a deal. That's really all there is to say about this film. If you've seen the first 2 films of this franchise, check this one out, okay? All 3 of these movies make a fantastic triple feature. I still think I like them. If I had to choose, I like them in order of release. So I think the first one is my favorite. The second one is just a very slight downgrade to the first one. And the third one is a very slight downgrade to the second one. You know, so it's kind of like, splitting hairs at this point. So all 3 of these films are really good, folks. If you have not seen this trilogy, I strongly recommend it. A Chinese Ghost Story 3, like its predecessors, is available on streaming as well as physical media. There's actually a pretty nice Hong Kong Blu-ray release that I showcased before in a pickups video, I think. So check these out, man. They're really good. And as always, we will see you next time.